Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey.
There's a lot of new faces for me in here, so which is exciting for me. But this is my first time sharing my testimony, and I don't know who's tried to do this, but it's not so easy to summarize a testimony in like what's supposed to be 5 minutes, which is definitely not going to happen. But if I lose you, I promise I'll skip to the end. But Pastor Joel did ask me to do this, and I needed a while for God to like work up the courage in my heart, so bear with me. There's one person I want to recognize because she's going to be a main character in my story, Gail, right here in the front. Helpful to have a visual, right? So just a little background, I'm from the U.S. I was born in California and grew up in Colorado. I grew up with no religion in my family, and my mother is Jewish. We celebrated a little Hanukkah. My father grew up Catholic, but really had no religion in our lives. And it was really much more about chasing happiness and achievement, I would say. But it was a warm, loving home. This is my son Judah, who will come out 3 more times while I'm talking. So it was an interesting, good childhood, but I did not have faith. And in fact, I resisted faith. And when I met my lovely wife, who grew up in the church, essentially, evangelical, one of 8 kids, which is just nuts. I didn't believe in God, and I used to fight it. And I remember having debates with her, not so much debates because they're really one-sided, because she's really good. Me saying, what the heck is up with these athletes? I was always an athlete. And so I was very focused on what the athletes were doing. Why are, when they score a touchdown in the U.S., are they pointing up to God? This is bull. Like, they did all the work. They worked out. They deserve the credit. Why are they giving it away to God? I mean, I was really passionately against this idea of giving away your success to somebody else. And then I would also argue other things about the love of God and why are so many people judged, why are gays judged the way they're judged, and a lot of very sensitive topics. My lovely wife was very graceful, and she would answer a few, but she basically just encouraged me to seek answers wherever I could find them. And she gave me some options, one of which was her father, who's a really kind of infamous engineer at Northrop Grumman. He's got a lot of patents. This guy has read the Quran front to back, the Bible like 17 times, and every other religious book, which I can't even name. And so he's a great resource. So I spent a lot of time asking him questions like, what about this? What about this? And what about this? Because I like fact-based information. And I'm not going to do all the research myself yet. I'm not that committed. And so I started getting a lot of my answers, which was really interesting in starting to understand the heart of God, not just the judgment of God. And then I had a really interesting moment. I started to go to church with her in Boston, and I wanted to explore more. I just said, hey, I'm going to start going with you. And a pastor, guest speaker, probably much better than me right now. He's actually a pastor, certified. And he gave me some of the facts that I needed, which were really around Jesus. I was like struggling on this Jesus thing. Like, do I really have to believe this Jesus guy like existed and like he died and he rose from the dead and all the stuff, right? And this guy gave me some amazing insight, which I then kind of fact-based checked, which is, one, Jesus was one of, if not the most documented human in history, which brings some relevance for me, because did he exist? And for me it was, yes, he exists. Watch out. Yes, he exists. He's one of the most documented humans in history. Then these disciples, did they exist? Yes, they're also some of the most documented humans in history. Okay, so these disciples killed themselves on behalf of Jesus. And so I started thinking, like, what would I kill myself for? I hope for my kids and my wife, but do you really know? I mean, these guys must have experienced something very real. And this resonated with me, because either Jesus was crazy, or he was who he said he was. And this was a moment for me of like facts, of like he existed, people died for him, and that's bold. And for me, this was a switch. And at that moment, I kind of felt like I was saved. And I thought everything was going to be good from there on out. But I learned, so some of the lessons I learned, sorry, I just put this in some chunks, okay? and some lessons I learned along the way. In that one, I learned he likes when we seek answers and we ask questions. He wants to prove himself. He doesn't need to, but he likes when you're like, so what's up with this? I need clarity here. And I think this is something that was a big takeaway for me. From my wife's standpoint, of one who's of faith, dealing with somebody who is not of faith, the grace in she let God chase me, and she did not chase me, was amazing. Because if she had been forcing this down my throat, I probably would not be standing here today. And then some of the strongest resistors tend to be the biggest converts. So remember that the ones that are fighting you, they're most likely going to be like on the street, like then after this, I started struggling. I was going to the church a lot, but I was having trouble connecting with guys in the church. I needed, like, I'm an athlete, I'm working out, I'm in the secular world, I work for Reebok, and I'm struggling to, like, connect, find another guy to, like, hang out with. And so I started praying on it. Gail's like, well, why don't we pray about it? Well, I've never done that before, okay. And I thought I needed a mentor. So I was praying for, like, I need somebody to look up to, like the guy who's got it all. So we sat in her car one morning about to go to church, and we laid hands on each other, and she prayed for me to find a mentor. I get a friend who texts me that, like, about 10 minutes later on the way to church, she's driving, long story there, and he says, hey, what's going on, man? You want to hang out later? This guy I've worked out with for years, played hockey with, he works at Reebok, and I have this moment where I can either tell my buddy, who I've known for years, that I'm going to church, and I can call him later, or I can just do what I've normally done, which is, hey, I've got something for a couple hours, can I hit you later? And I took the choice to say, I'm going to church, like send. And he sends back, cool, me too, I'll talk to you later. And I've known this guy for, I think it was 5 years at the time. I was like, what? I texted, you're a Christian? You are too? I was like, yeah, what the heck? We've been doing all this stuff together. And so, but this was like a beautiful moment. This is a good lesson for both of us, because this God, you know, two or more come together in my name, there I am. Or there I will be, whatever the scripture says, it's not my forte. We opened doors. We found a whole bunch of other guys. All of a sudden, doors started opening at Reebok, and there were prayer groups happening, and there were guys that I've known that I didn't realize were Christians that we started to connect with. And it was just a testament to that. So my lessons out of that one were asking for help, but accepting his way. So I wanted a mentor, but he gave me fellowship. And that was what I really needed. I thought I needed a mentor. Be open about my faith, so that was like a really big learning. Ever since then, if somebody asks me what I'm doing, I'm just honest. I'm not pushy, I'm just, yeah, I'm going to church, or yeah, I believe in God, yeah, I'm a Christian. And it opens a lot of interesting doors in my world. And then talk about real life stuff. So with these guys, we talk about the real stuff, the battles, battle with pornography, the battle with my past, if you ever did drugs, or if you're struggling with your wife, I mean, real stuff. And this was a big lesson for me of like, okay, the church doesn't have to just be this surface thing. Like, I can go deep and talk about things that are tormenting me, right? And I grew a lot from that. The next quick one, Joel, how am I doing on time? 8 minutes, okay. The next quick one was this spiritual thing. So I'm on, this is my journey. I'm giving you the journey because it is not just a moment. I was struggling with just the soft nature of church in a way. Like, I got the prayer, I got the fellowship, but I couldn't figure out how to pray in a way that resonated with me. And I had this wild dream one night, I'll never forget it, very vivid, where the devil was all over my house. Like, and I saw the devil, and it was like, I had that fear, like the crinkling on the back of your neck. And I wanted to hide, and I started hiding. And then I all of a sudden got pissed off. And this is in my dream, and I remembered the whole thing. And I had a staff, like this Moses staff sort of guy. It was wooden, it was freaking awesome. And I started chasing the devil around the house. Like, I'm in my dream, it wasn't really happening. But I started, and I'm yelling at him, Jenn, I banish you in the name of Jesus, literally. And he was like disappearing. And I was like fighting, and I woke up and I felt relieved. And I started reading the book Wild at Heart. I don't know, has anyone read Wild at Heart? That's freaking awesome. If you're a man, and also it's good insight into women. His wife wrote one that's good. He talks about the armor of God and the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shoes, the readiness, the gospel of peace, and the helmet of salvation. I memorized the whole thing. And I started putting this armor on and realized, like, I'm a man. I was meant for battle, and there is a spiritual war, and I like this because I can fight. And I'm an athlete. I want to like have something to fight against. I don't want to. I just stand here and pray into my house. It's much different when I say, devil, I cast you out of this home, and God, I bring you in the name and the leadership of this home. Over my head, over my family's head, it still gives me goosebumps. And so I realized in that moment that God is strength. He's not just judgment, he's not just love, but he can fight. And he wants us to be warriors. And as a man, certainly this is very attractive. This gave me a lot of connection with faith. And also that I can be emotional, let loose. I swear sometimes in my prayers. I drop F-bombs. At the devil, like, and do you really think, I mean, at least I don't think God's like, Chad, you dropped the F-bomb again, man. You were casting the devil out of your home that time. But I mean, you know what I mean? So I let loose in this fashion, and I love it. And it helps give me what I need, some fruit. The next thing that happened to me, was something around obedience. I'm almost done here. It was around obedience, and I started getting more and more into faith, especially with these guys, and started understanding prayer and understanding what it's like to hear from God. And I was praying one time, and I heard that we should sell our home. We're in Boston. And I tell Gail, my awesome wife again, we need to sell our house in the spring. And she's like, okay. I said, I think I heard that from God. She said, okay. This is maybe in like January, February. So spring rolls around, she sends me an email. We still have it printed out, which is awesome. At work, she says, hey, she was a real estate agent at the time. Hey, did you really hear from God that we need to sell our house? Because if you did, I need to start moving to get this thing on the market. And we both feel like if God told us to do something, like we need to do it. And I checked again, I'm at work, I pray on it, and I sent her an email back, yes, it's clear we should sell our house. We have no idea where we're supposed to live. We have no idea why, and I have this really weird thing that I'm supposed to sell my house. She says, okay, we put the house on the market. We're starting to generate a plan. We're like, okay, God will just give it to us. The plan is she moves to Baltimore with the kids, and I stay in the house until it's sold, and then I move into a hotel until God tells us what we're supposed to do. She gets the house all ready, which was awesome. I was no help. And I'm living in the house, and she moves to Baltimore. We put the house on the market. At the time, it took about 3 months typically to sell a home, and you'd typically be under market value for sure. This is maybe 2012, 2013. In 24 hours, we get a full price offer on the house, and we're like, sorry. What are we going to do? Like, this was totally unplanned. So I called Gail, and I'm like, we just got an offer, full price. Like, what do we do? We take it. Okay, well, where am I supposed to go? Like, this is happening now. We kind of thought it'd work itself out. I started praying on it, and I got this really weird thing about this guy, Chris Waldeck, who was living in Korea doing my job right now, country manager for Korea. And I was like, he has a home. I think we might be going to the Waldeck's home in the US. So I called my wife, we look up their house, which is on the market. I called Chris, who I haven't talked to in maybe at that time close to a year. He's in Korea. I said, hey man, I just sold my house. We don't really know what we're gonna do, but I don't know what's going on with your house. Is it open? He's like, you'll never believe this. But yesterday I got a call from, true story, you can ask Chris. Yesterday I got a call from my tenant who put an offer on a house and wants to break his lease. We were gonna put it on the market, and he talks to his wife, he's like, but you guys can move in. I was like, done. And he gave me the price right on the phone, and I said, when? He said, in 2 weeks. So we moved into his house. I mean, it was a complete miracle. It also is what led me to Korea and now to China, which is, again, I think the lesson here for me was obedience. And the big lesson that I started implementing a lot was, circumstantially, the evidence made no sense to sell our home. We did not need to sell our home. There was no reason, but I felt like we were supposed to. And following that obedience and remembering, so what tends to happen to us is we get the heartstring, and then everything gets difficult. Like what happened to me, it's like the house putting on the market was horrible, but then you can reflect and remember, you know what? I know I heard what I heard. I'm sticking with the plan. And the same thing happened with me in Korea, and the same thing is happening now in China. There's huge lessons. And you need to have a very patient wife who will follow you in your adventures. And then the final one is, so here I am, I've got like my fellowship, I feel like a man, I'm swearing at the devil, I've sold my house, I've witnessed what I believe is a miracle, but I am losing interest like hell at work. And I'm getting like depressed, and I'm underperforming in my job because I'm starting to ask myself, why? Like, what is all of this crap for? I'm like on that hamster wheel at Reebok, like trying to climb the corporate ladder. Do I really need that? And I started to disengage. And in that, I found there was a moment I'm driving to the office, and it was in my search for purpose, where you're asking, why do I work? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? And I had this moment where I realized that my purpose was very clear. And this purpose, has anyone has seen the Simon Sinek video? The Find Your Why? Mm-hmm. This is kind of an element of, check it out, it's good. It's non-religious, but it's powerful. And this was inspiration for me, and I found what I was looking for, which was my purpose. I wrote it down, and in that moment, I had so much clarity. My purpose is to honor God, honor my faith, which means to do as it says to do in the Bible. Use the gifts that I've been given, which means I need to identify the specific gifts that I have and understand my weaknesses. To make an impact on others, which means my gifts are not for myself, but for others, as God calls me to, which means not my will, but His will. So when He tells me to do something, I better do it. And when it has to do with my gifts, then it's probably definitely right. This was a powerful moment. I've got this written down. My kids have purpose. Everyone has a purpose now in my family. Because the purpose means the origin for which something exists, which is pretty important. So how can you possibly, or how could I possibly make any decision in life without understanding my origin for existence and filter for which making a decision? And in this moment, I gave everything up. I was driving to work and I said, God, if you want me to be the senior manager of marketing for fitness for the rest of my life, done. If I never get another raise, done. If you kill my wife and kids and take them, done. I want to be a man who is solid in God no matter what is given to me or what is taken away from me. And this freedom was absolutely, bar none, the best freedom I've ever had in my life. It's true contentment. And I learned so much through this because by giving away everything, I gained everything. And my work became meaningful. Changing all the diapers, we have 4 kids and 1 more on the way. Changing diapers became a gift because it wasn't about the other crap. It was like, this is a moment. Doing dishes became a gift. It's not easy to hang on to that gift, by the way, the diaper gift and the dishes, but it's there, it's real. And it gave me a lot of learnings. So I would highly recommend understanding and knowing your purpose. This for me gave me everything, and also catapulted a whole bunch of things in my life after that that I didn't deserve, and I felt almost like God said, okay, now you're worthy, here you go. Yeah, everything is a gift. So, in closing, there's a couple other things. What I found is it's a journey. He's working on things with me this year that are around confidence in Him. And I feel like every moment and for the rest of my life will be a journey with God. And what I always say, and what we say, is I would rather be the fool that believed. And the reason is, what I get from faith is everything. I'm a better man, I'm a better leader, I'm a better friend, I'm a better husband, I'm a better son. There really isn't a downside. Maybe some persecution. I haven't fully experienced that yet, but I have to a degree. but it really isn't a downside. You can also justify everything. You're stuck in traffic. You'd be like, oh, it's God's plan. And some people say, well, that's ridiculous. Well, yeah, but it gives me peace and contentment right now. I'm in. Why not? This is freaking great. And if I'm wrong, then what happens at the end? There's blackness. Okay? So, or there's what? Reincarnation, all the other, none of which are really bad, right? But if I'm right, I'm in the kingdom of heaven with God, and I was a better man because of it. So we tell our kids, you're going to hear lots of great things, a lot of good reasons not to believe, but ultimately, choose to be the fool. Because being the fool is not so bad. And this church, for us, has been a huge blessing. Joel mentioned it. It's only been a few months, but it's changed. It's the first time I've been part of a community in church ever, and it's been so much for our family. It's brought me and my wife together. It's given our kids faith really for the first time in a controlled setting like this, not just at home. And I owe a lot to this church, and I pray that you guys pray over this church for success because it's special. He's special, and the team here is really special. There's something magical happening here that has helped me bring my faith to a new level, which I'm really grateful for. So thank you, and that's my testimony.